Hey guys, how you all doing? It is Sam from Gemini, and today we're going to be talking about porky-pies in martial arts. Booyah!
Yeah, I trained on broken glass this morning. My instructor makes me train on broken glass.
Okay, on to business. Right, I was thinking quite recently actually about ideas to do for the next video, and something came across me actually only the other day, and that was about somebody said, why why are martial arts so full of bullshitters? And I remember just listening to this and thinking that would be a perfect video. So I was like, right, okay, yeah, I can work with this. Right, okay, so what do we mean by bullshitters, liars, porky-piers, truth deniers, kind of stuff in martial arts? And specifically, I think that is such a broad subject, but I wanted to kind of like tunnel it down mostly into the kind of people that make these weird, elaborate, exaggerated claims about what they can do in martial arts. And from my experience, it seems to be that martial arts breeds what kind of like a cesspool of people that say this kind of stuff. Um, you get people from martial arts who I've met who say stuff like, "Yeah, I trained on broken glass." The same guy once said, "Yeah, I killed a cow with a golf ball." And somebody says they got accosted on Brighton Beach by like a guy that did Chinese kung fu, and he had like the bald head with a long ponytail, like straight out of some strange 70s or 80s martial arts movie. But not just him, other people as well who I've met down the line making these very absurd claims about what they can do in martial arts and how they can like do it, fly through the air and do a triple, quadruple flying side kick, uh, all within a space of like 2 seconds. You know, I'm sure we've all heard it. All these absurd claims, which are blatantly not true. Um, Now, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't necessarily like to make a judgment before the trial. I always like to listen to somebody. I'll look at the evidence supporting what they're saying. I look at the evidence against what they're saying. Then I'll make my own judgment. However, when people come up with these sorts of absurd claims on what they've done or what they're capable of, I mean, you just know it's not true. It's ludicrous, basically, I think is the word to use to describe. But why is it that martial arts seems to be prevalent with these sorts of individuals? Um, you never hear about stuff like this from tennis. You never hear from like other sports like rugby. You don't get, say, like Ben Cohen, like the former England player, saying stuff like, "Oh yeah, I ran the length of the field in 1.5 seconds. Yeah," or stuff like, "I scored 5,000 tries in one match." You never hear this kind of stuff from other sports, and I've kind of noticed the more disciplined the sport, the more or the less likely somebody is to make an absurd claim. I suppose you could say football is a bit of an exception because footballers get tackled, they fall on the floor, and they roll around like prima donnas. So that could be in the same bracket as the martial arts. But if you're getting a sport for, say, I don't know, archery or clay pigeon shooting, I've never heard of somebody doing clay pigeon shooting saying, "Oh yeah, I fired my rifle, it smashed a clay pigeon, and then a piece of the clay pigeon ricocheted and smashed another clay pigeon, which then ricocheted and smashed another one." You don't hear this kind of weirdness from other sports. But martial arts seems to foster this kind of environment. Or maybe not necessarily foster it. Maybe I'm being a little bit unfair there, but it certainly seems to kind of be prevalent within martial arts. You go to a school, like I'm going to use Choi Kwang Do as an example. Choi Kwang Do website says proven to be the most effective martial art. Now that in itself is a ludicrous claim, because what determines what's an effective martial art? There are too many variables. Effective in sport combat, effective on the street, effective for, I don't know, being used in SAS operations in Yemen. How do you define what's effective? So that claim in itself by Choi Kwang Do is ludicrous. It's baseless. And also of Choi Kwang Do, there's no evidence to back up what they're saying. No Choi Kwang Do school has ever provided evidence to support their claim that they're the most effective martial art ever. And that is a fact. They've not been able to provide evidence. And if you can't provide evidence to support your claim, it's unsubstantiated. It's just a baseless statement. Same with people making these ludicrous kind of claims of what they can do. Oh yeah, I'm a disciple, or I'm a descendant of Bruce Lee lineage. Prove it. Where's your evidence? Where's your certification? Where's your references? Oh, I don't have any. Well, if you've got no evidence to support it, again, it's unsubstantiated, which would suggest it's inaccurate at best and a lie at worst. But why do people then? Why do people feel the need to kind of big themselves up? Why do people feel the need to say stuff like, yeah, I beat up 10 people the other day in the street using my Jeet Kune Do, using my Taekwondo, using my hunger? Yeah, I don't see the appeal of that. I don't see why somebody... We're getting a bit Freudian now, I suppose, but I suppose people kind of... Freud would say human beings only have two drives. One is sexual and one is violence. And we are violent because we want to eliminate threats to our species. We see a potential threat, we'll eliminate it. By eliminating that threat, we ensure the survival of our own genes. That's why if you look at most endangered species in the world, and most of them are predators, because from an early age humans have kind of realised that actually a tiger can rip our guts out, a bear can like bite our head off, so we kill those species to get rid of those threats. So maybe it's because violence is a natural, innate biological mechanic within humanity, or at least the human condition, that we feel that if we boast about what we're capable of physically, in a violent sense, people would automatically be drawn or impressed by it. If you say stuff like, yeah, I was on the street and I got attacked by a Chinese guy that did leopard-style kung fu, but I smashed his face in. The person who makes that claim probably thinks everybody else would be like, oh, that's amazing, that's wonderful. But deep down, that's essentially just reflecting what's going on inside that individual who's made the claim. It's showing the discord and dissonance going on inside that individual, which most of the time, if they make claims like that, border on the insecurity. Because they feel insecure in themselves. They don't feel confident in themselves to promote themselves in any other way except the baseless, biological, Freudian aspect, which is, if I make myself look good violent-wise, people will be drawn to me. People think I'm amazing. Instead of maybe saying, oh, I'm at a party, I'm going to impress people with my intellectual knowledge about the Safavid Persian Empire. Ha 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 ha. I know all the Mughal emperors of India. Ha 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 ha. I know all the kings of the Koryo dynasty from Korea. Ha 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 ha. I know the difference between a negative externality and thematic analysis. Ha 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 ha. No, we're not trying to overawe people with intellect or wit or culture or anything like this. They revert back to the physical side. They revert back to the baseless, violent aspect, which, as we said with Freud said, is going back to the very bottom, baseless, environmentalist, nativist cause of or driving force of humanity. Not a cause. Nativist driving force of humanity. Sex and violence. But it shows that they lack the intelligence then to kind of impress other people. They have to go back to baseline, basically, which is violence and sex. But yeah, next time somebody comes up and they're like, yeah, I was on the street and I've used my martial arts on the street and I've smashed this guy's face in, and yeah, I was attacked with a knife and I did a jumping kick and kicked out his hand and I did all this kind of cool stuff. Fuck off. No, you didn't. Seriously. And you get it on like YouTube comments. If ever sometimes I'm in like an amused kind of mood and I want to amuse myself, sometimes I'll actually go on YouTube and just read comments. I don't care what the video is about. I just like to read the comments, because the comments, some are so ludicrous and ridiculous. You find yourself almost reading like a comedy sketch. And yeah, the stuff that people say. Yeah, I served my time in prison and I was with Daddy. I beat up all these prison guards and I threw one over the railings. Yeah. And again, yeah, you just look at it and think, Seriously, you didn't do that, did you? Yeah, I did. It's these kind of lies that people have to tell to make themselves look big. One, I think we all know, it's showing an insecurity. Two, it shows lack of intellect because they cannot impress people via other means, via other characteristics or skills that they have. So they have to revert to the baseline driving biological force. And three, I think it shows as well that they kind of live in a bit of a fantasy world, that they feel that I don't know, that they're tough or something, or they're magical, or they're amazing in their own little sort of concept that they have of themselves. So yeah, porky pie people in martial arts, and it only seems to be martial arts that kind of have this sort of unique group of individuals who say stuff like this. I mean, like I said, you never get this in squash players or tennis players. You don't get, like, I don't know, Pete Sampras or Nadal or Federer or people like this, or Sharapova coming out making these kind of ludicrous statements. No, it only seems to be martial arts. So next time you're in martial arts, or you're discussing martial arts with somebody and they say something like this, like, yeah, I smashed somebody's face in. Seriously, in the street, people who use violence on the street are either going to be drunk and on drugs, or on drugs, rather, or they're going to be criminals. And would you really want to associate with either of those kind of people? I mean, sure, you know, we all get drunk at times, but not to a point, hopefully, that we don't go around smashing people's faces in. We are meant to be adults, and we solve our problems in adult ways. We don't feel the need to resort to violence to solve our problems. That's why we should be, as martial artists, proactive. That's why, as martial artists, we should be able to actually diffuse situations, placate situations, talk down situations. In some cases, walk away. If you're in a situation and you find you're uncomfortable, just walk away. You don't need to stand there and claim to smash up 10 people's faces in and then probably end up with like a knife in your ribs. It's not worth it. So guys, if you're one of these people that goes around making these kind of statements that you get attacked on Brighton Beach by a Chinese guy, just shut up. It's not true. Get the fuck out of here. Guys, yeah, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I'm going to go and get myself a tea. Stay safe, train hard, keep saying hi to the cat, and I'll see you all in the next video. Booyah!
I'm a direct descendant of Bruce Lee, I am. I can't prove it, but I am.